The name they buried. My name is Ilara Brooks, and for most of my life, my name worked against me. Not because it was strange, not because it was hard to pronounce, but because my own family made sure it was whispered with disgust. For 4 years, every place I applied to knew me before I ever walked in. They knew me as a liar, a manipulator, a risk. And they knew that because my mother made sure of it. The beginning of the lie. It started after my grandfather died. He was the only one who ever defended me. When I was 16 and my stepfather accused me of stealing money from his office, my grandfather stood up and said, "If Ilara did it, show proof. If not, keep her name out of your filthy mouth." There was no proof. There never was. But after he passed away, no one stopped them anymore. My mother, Karen, became colder. My stepfather, Victor, became louder, and I became the problem that needed to be erased. By the time I turned 22, they had rewritten my entire history. College didn't save me. People say education sets you free. That's a lie, too. I graduated with honors in cyber compliance and risk analysis, top 5% of my class. 2 professors personally wrote recommendation letters. But recommendations don't matter when phone calls come first. Every interview followed the same pattern. They smiled. They praised my resume. They left the room. Then they came back different. Eyes colder, voices shorter, excuses rehearsed. We decided to move forward with another candidate. Over and over, month after month, year after year. The phone calls I didn't know about. I found out the truth accidentally. A junior HR assistant at a mid-size firm took pity on me. She wasn't supposed to say anything, but she leaned in and whispered, "Your mother called us. She said you stole company data during an internship. She said hiring you would be a liability." My vision blurred. My mother! I confronted her that night. She didn't deny it. She smiled. "I did what I had to do. You were getting ideas above your station." That sentence broke something in me permanently. Survival mode. By 26, I wasn't chasing dreams anymore. I was chasing rent. I sold my textbooks, then my laptop, then my grandmother's necklace, the only thing she left me. I worked under fake names, cash jobs, night shifts, cleaning offices where people younger than me worked jobs I was trained for. Every night, I told myself, just survive one more day. The interview that shouldn't have happened. Then came North Rail Solutions, a logistics compliance firm outside Chicago. Not glamorous, not famous, but they had one opening, data integrity assistant. I hesitated before applying. Same last name, same risk. But something inside me said, try one last time. When the interview email arrived, I cried in the bathroom of a gas station. The waiting room. The office smelled like burnt coffee and printer ink. I wore the same blazer I'd owned since graduation. The elbows were shiny from age. The lining was torn. I sat perfectly straight, hands folded, afraid that even breathing wrong would expose me. That's when Mr. Caldwell, the director, walked in. Late 50s, gray beard, calm eyes. He shook my hand and said, "Before we begin, I was asked to give you this." He placed a thick envelope on the table. Yellowed edges, handwritten date. Dated 12 years ago. My grandmother's handwriting. My heart slammed into my ribs. The envelope no one wanted me to open. "I don't understand," I whispered. Mr. Caldwell nodded slowly. "Your grandmother came here years ago. She said if you ever applied anywhere connected to this network, we were to give you that first."
My hands trembled. I didn't open it. Not yet. Because he leaned back and said something that made my blood run cold. Before you read it, I need to ask, why do multiple references warn us about you? There it was. The poison. The lie. I looked him straight in the eye and said, because my family needed a villain. Silence filled the room. The call. Then the phone rang. Mr. Caldwell glanced at the screen. His expression changed. It's your mother. I felt like the floor dropped out from under me. He answered, didn't speak for almost a full minute, just listened. When he hung up, he didn't look angry. He looked disturbed. The sentence that changed everything. He slid the envelope closer to me. I think you should read what your grandmother knew before we continue. My fingers tore it open. Inside were documents, bank statements, recorded affidavits, a signed legal declaration, and one sentence underlined in red. If you are reading this, they have already destroyed her name. My chest tightened, because suddenly I understood. This interview was never about a job. It was about the truth finally crawling into the light.
The truth my grandmother buried. I couldn't breathe. The documents inside the envelope weren't sentimental letters or old photos. They were evidence. Real, methodical, terrifying. My grandmother hadn't just suspected something. She had known everything. The first page. The first sheet was a notarized affidavit signed by my grandmother, Evelyn Brooks, 12 years ago. Her handwriting wobbled near the bottom, like her hands had been shaking. I am leaving these documents in the custody of North Rail's legal division because I do not trust my own daughter to protect the truth. My stomach dropped. She hadn't trusted my mother, not even then. What they stole. The second page was worse. It listed 4 offshore accounts, all under shell companies, all traced back to Victor Hale, my stepfather. Money moving in patterns that screamed fraud, amounts that made my head spin, 6 figures, then 7, and then the line that shattered everything I thought I knew. When Victor realized Ilara noticed discrepancies, he decided to destroy her credibility before she could speak. I remembered the night he accused me of stealing, the shouting, the police threat, the way my mother stood behind him, silent. I was never the thief. I was the witness, and they knew it. Mr. Caldwell leaned forward slowly. Your grandmother tried to expose this internally, but Victor had connections, powerful ones. She had no leverage except me. The insurance policy. My grandmother was smarter than they ever gave her credit for. She didn't confront them loudly. She documented quietly. She recorded phone calls, saved emails, tracked transactions. Then she hid everything in plain sight, inside a logistics firm's legal archive, where my family would never think to look. She left one instruction. Give this only if Ilara applies, not before. She was waiting for the moment I'd need it most. The call my mother made. Mr. Caldwell finally spoke about the phone call. Your mother warned us you're unstable, that you fabricate stories when under pressure. I laughed, not because it was funny, because it was predictable. Did she mention why she's so afraid of me working anywhere with compliance oversight? He didn't answer. He didn't need to. The background check that changed direction. North Rail didn't reject me. They paused the interview and escalated everything. Within 48 hours, my name was being reevaluated, but not as a risk, as a potential whistleblower. Mr. Caldwell called me personally. "We'd like to offer you a provisional position and full legal protection." I accepted without thinking. For the first time in years, someone wasn't asking me to explain myself. They were asking me to help them. The net tightens. What I didn't know was how fast the net would close. Victor's accounts were linked to 3 logistics firms. One of them had a government contract. That's when federal auditors got involved, quietly, methodically. And my mother? She panicked. I received a voicemail at 2:14 a.m. Her voice was shaking. "Ilara, whatever you think you know, you're misunderstanding things. Call me back." I didn't. I saved it. Because fear sounds very different from authority. The name cleanse. 2 weeks later, something happened that felt unreal. An email went out to every company that had ever rejected me. It stated, "Previous allegations regarding Miss Ilara Brooks were found to be false and malicious in nature." Just like that, 4 years of damage, undone in one paragraph. I sat on my apartment floor and cried until the sun came up. The offer no one expected. Then Mr. Caldwell made another call. "We don't just want you as an employee." Pause. "We want you on the internal investigation team." I thought of my grandmother, of how she'd been dismissed, ignored, belittled. This wasn't revenge. This was continuation. The knock at the door. 3 days later, there was a knock. I opened it. My mother stood there. No makeup, eyes red, hands clasped like she was praying. "We need to talk." Behind her in the hallway stood Victor. For the first time in my life, he wouldn't meet my eyes. The day my name was returned. I didn't invite them in. I stood in the doorway, one hand on the frame, the other shaking at my side. My mother looked smaller than I remembered. Victor looked older. Neither of them looked powerful anymore. The conversation they couldn't control. "We can explain," my mother said. I smiled, thin, tired. "You already did, for 4 years, to everyone except me." Victor cleared his throat. "This doesn't have to get ugly." That was when I laughed, a sharp, broken sound. "It already did. You just weren't the one bleeding." The truth out loud. I stepped aside and let them in, not because I wanted them there, but because I wanted them to hear themselves. I laid the documents on the table, every page my grandmother had saved, every lie they had told. Victor's face drained of color. "Where did you get these?" I didn't answer, because my mother already knew. Her lips trembled. She promised she wouldn't." I leaned forward. "She promised me."
The arrest. The knock came sooner than expected. 2 federal agents. Badges out. Calm. Polite. Deadly serious. Victor didn't fight. He just sat down like a man whose story had ended mid-sentence. My mother screamed. Not for him. For herself. The silence after. After they were gone, the apartment felt hollow. I expected triumph. I felt grief. Not for them. For the girl I used to be, the one who begged to be believed. The public truth. The case moved fast. Too fast for lies to keep up. Victor pled guilty to wire fraud and financial manipulation. My mother was charged with obstruction and defamation. Local news picked it up. Then national. My name was said out loud. Correctly. Carefully. With the word cleared attached to it. The letter. A week later, I received another envelope. Different handwriting. My mother's. I didn't open it. Some truths arrive too late to matter. The job becomes purpose. Northrail made my role permanent. Not as a favor. As a statement. I worked on compliance reform. Whistleblower protections. Policies designed so no one else would ever be erased quietly. Sometimes when I stayed late, I imagined my grandmother sitting beside me. Nodding. Visiting the grave. I visited her grave on a cold morning. No speech prepared. Just one sentence. They couldn't keep me buried. The wind felt warm for January. The final scene. People ask me if I forgave them. I tell them this. Forgiveness is optional. Truth is not. My name is Alara Brooks. And this time, they had to learn it properly.